Hello and welcome to a very special interview here on WION Sports with me, Digvijay Singh Deo. Sports stars at the moment seem to be winning the battle against Father Time. Cristiano Ronaldo, LeBron James remain at the top of their games. Roger Federer is still around. Remember, he won his last ATP Tour title at the age of 37. And another ageless wonder has been Justin Gatlin, who won a 100-meter silver at the World Championships at the age of 37 in Doha. Justin Gatlin, the 2004 Olympic champion in the 100 meters, joins me now from Bengaluru. Justin, thank you for your time. I hope that you are not offended by me calling you the ageless wonder, because the second half of your career has been absolutely, it sort of defied everything that we've known about sport till you sort of extended the boundaries.
That's my new nickname now. I appreciate that. It feels great to be here. I'm honored to be able to talk about my long career, and thank you for this opportunity.
You know, when I was growing up, Justin, a sprinter's shelf life seemed to be limited. 32, 34, you were done. I remember Carl Lewis, you know, somebody I grew up idolizing at a very young age, transitioned to the long jump after his sprinting days were over. Then your great rival Usain Bolt as well, 30, 32, 33, he retired. How do you look back on the way you have redefined the sort of the shelf life of a sprinter? And for you, how much has it taken out of you to push your body to the limit each time you went out there to train?
I think it was more or less really listening to my body. When I got to a certain age, into my 30s, it was about kind of starting to rearrange my regimen and how I approach competition and practice, because now I know that I'm gonna not recover as quickly as a younger athlete, but at the same time I have the mental capacity to be strong, wise, and be smart when it comes to my race strategy. So muscle memory always played a vital role in me staying in the game for so long.
Okay, you mentioned muscle memory, Justin, but just looking around as well, the names I mentioned: LeBron James, Allison, Felix, Mo Farah still going strong at 39, Cristiano Ronaldo. Is it also because athletes like you, sports persons like you, not just, as you said, you looked after your body after a certain age, but it's also the kind of effort you all put into looking into your bodies from the early ages, from 22, 23 onwards?
I think at the level that we train at and the age that we're at, we are in the pursuit of perfection. You know, it's not just competition to us anymore. We want to be able to, Tom Brady is the best quarterback. Why? Because he knows the game inside and out. It's the same thing with track and field. For me, I was able to dissect and understand the 100 meters, 200 meters to a level that younger athletes couldn't understand at that point in time. I was able to dissect my race and know what each of my opponents at the starting line are going to do, predicted wise, habit wise, going to a race. So I think as an older athlete, you gain that sense of wisdom, knowing how races will unfold, knowing how you're able to predict it, and it gives you a higher rate of success.
Okay, I think I also need to owe an apology to Tom Brady. I should have had him on that list as well. It's when you said quarterback, I sort of remembered that we need to include Tom Brady in that list of age-defying sports persons as well. But you're in Bengaluru for the TCS World 10K. I'll give you an honest opinion. You know, when these sort of marathons and half marathons and races started mushrooming all over India a few years ago, I used to sit back and think, what's the point? India's not doing too well in athletics. It's only the field events, but just seeing the amount of enthusiasm around the country now, especially with running sort of becoming part of the lifestyle, that's the larger issue, isn't it? You need to educate the population about the benefits of actually going out there and having a much more healthier lifestyle. And then in future, you will see that translate into sporting success.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. You know, right now, with all these marathons that are going on being successful and people more aware of their health, more aware of trying to practice discipline to stay healthy, you may have a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old right now who has taken this lifestyle, made a tradition, and now they're going to go on and potentially be the next gold medalist for India. So not only are you creating a healthy environment for the older athletes, but also the citizens of these different cities throughout India, but you're creating a tradition for the next generation of athletes to come, to be smarter, to be wiser about their intake of food, their discipline when it comes to their craft, and you will see a shift in these young athletes becoming more confident in being an elite athlete, and you'll see a change.
Okay, Bangalore is a city in India which has always had a tradition of athletics, and you would have obviously interacted with Anju Bobby George, who was competing at the time as well when you were there at the first part of your career, and now India's sort of had an Olympic champion in Neeraj Chopra in the men's javelin as well. Sometimes you feel that it's that final part of the jigsaw. India always did well at the Asian level. Chopra sort of has perhaps provided that final missing piece, which was self-belief, which is probably going to see Indian athletes now take it to the next level at the world level at the Olympics.
Absolutely. I mean, what he has done for India is the same thing what Usain has done for Jamaica. Think about it. He's inspired so many young athletes to think, okay, I can do that too. I come from that same background. I came from that same humble beginning, but even though I came there, doesn't mean that I have to finish there. Doesn't mean that I can't inspire other young athletes to go on and take that torch to be able to make our country proud. So Golden Boy has done a great thing for this country, and I believe that there'll be many, many more athletes to come after it.
You just say that Neeraj Chopra has done to Indian athletics what Usain Bolt did for Jamaica. That's really, really tall praise, and clearly I'm going to send this clip to Neeraj, and he's going to be extremely happy to hear that. But you grew up in an American system where sport was a culture. Sport was what pushed you. You looked at your fellow schoolmates, college mates. Everyone was playing sport. What do you think Chopra's gold will do for Indian sport? How does Indian sport sort of take advantage now? We've seen our first gold medalist came from the sport of shooting. Abhinav Bindra 2008, it unleashed a sort of wave in that sport. But athletics is a much more sort of wider, complex sport, and it is perhaps the mother sport when it comes to the Olympic Games as well. So it's much more tougher.
I think, you have boundaries, and everyone lives in that box and says, no, as a country, we can't win a gold medal in that event. We can't do this. We can't win there. And then that one brave athlete goes out there and defies the odds and opens up that door and gives inspiration to the next generation. Now they're saying, we can do this. In fact, we can do much, much more. It's all about the knowledge that they acquire along the way and be able to have that confidence to go to the next level. That's the most powerful thing beyond talent and athleticism is inspiration.
Okay, we've spoken about Neeraj, we've spoken about Indian athletics. I want to move on and talk about your career. You retired just a short while back as well. When you sit back and look back on your career, do you feel that you didn't get the sort of amount of respect that your achievements on the sporting track deserve? That those 5 Olympic medals, Olympic champion 2004, world champion multiple times as well.
I don't know. I never had the opportunity to really sit back and think that I get enough recognition for all my accomplishments. I feel honored. I feel that I'm getting the respect of my longevity in my sport, even past just the athleticism, but just the fortitude that comes with it, and me pushing forward and betting on myself. That's inspiring within itself. So I'm actually pleased to know that my hard work and my determination has not gone unrecognized.
Okay, we are having this conversation sitting here in India. I mean, that's the sort of reach that you've had, the fact that people over here in India are very appreciative of what Justin Gatlin achieved in his career. But do you sometimes perhaps feel, a lot was written about you, that you were the perfect sort of marketing strategy for your sport? They wanted to pit you against the shining light of the sport at the moment, and in a sense, the Joker to Bolt's Batman, and sort of then just sit back and bask in the headlines. And it was the sport which sort of garnered more attention. And the attention wasn't focused on the pure spectacle that the two of you brought out of each other.
I believe it's a great marketing tool, but I felt like it was abused that got carried away. We're both athletes. We both train hard. We both have respect for each other. Getting on that line. It's been times where Usain has actually come to my defense and said, hey, let this man run. He's doing a great job. He's pushing me to be a better athlete as well. So I think him and fully understand strategy. But today as an athlete, I believe in myself. I have to wake up as Justin. I have to go to sleep as Justin. So regardless of if I if I'm cheered or booed, I have to be me, and I want to be to the full potential who I am.
That's a very positive way of looking at it. But you know, you said you were booed. A lot was written about you. How did you sort of deal with it all through your career? It's obviously taken a lot of mental toughness to sort of put that behind you and produce those performances race after race. You failed two dope tests, fair enough. You served your time. Do you feel that your comeback, the way you came back, the way you defied age, the way you defied everyone who was out to sort of pull you down, that's not been highlighted?
Yeah, I'm not as, I don't think that it's not been highlighted. I think that it has been, it's just been overshadowed a little bit, you know. Um, I'm happy with the fact that I've worked hard for it, you know, and I've showed that regardless of where I've been, where I've come from, my ups and downs, I'm able to climb back up to the top of the mountain and be able to have these epic battles with Usain across the board, across the United States, the world. And, you know, those are the things that I hope that are going to be remembered by me, is about betting on myself, knowing that I can be that athlete who can get the job done regardless of what everyone thinks.
Okay, you know, when I look back and I was sort of looking at your career and was going through all that you've achieved, there was a point in time when you could have walked away from it all. You could have walked away, you could have said, okay, I'm done with this, I'll move on. But how did you keep that hunger going? How did you sort of keep yourself motivated that I am going to come back and I'm going to make a name again and I'm going to succeed at the highest level?
Even my mom was like, you don't, just walk away, just walk away. And I told her, I was like, I love what I do. It makes me feel whole, and I have so much more left to accomplish. And that was my path and my road, that coming back into the sport, that I wanted to show the world that I still have something left in the tank to give. So regardless of the outcome, I was denied. I had so many no's. I was denied in so many races. I couldn't run in diamond leagues, but I just kept chipping away at it, chipping away at it. And once I had the opportunity just to get on the track, I knew I had to seize that moment, and that's what I did.
And the way you seized it has been memorable as well, winning all those medals that you have towards the second half of your career. But the time that you were away also saw the arrival of Usain Bolt at Beijing. I was there for those games. And then there was the Berlin World Championship later. Did that sort of give you an extra kick that, you know what, I can do what he's doing, I can beat him? And is that which also helped you, sort of fired you up and said, I'm going to come back stronger?
Absolutely. You know, and that's rare, because I know a lot of athletes who witnessed that same race in 2008, and they were so intimidated by it. Their mind was blown. And I remember looking up at the screen and saying, that's the guy I want to race against. That's the guy I want to be shoulder to shoulder with, stride for stride, going down the track. Not only because it was him, it was because he was able to bring a different competitor out of me that I didn't see before from anybody else in the world. So that was started my journey, and I was inspired by that to be a better athlete, a smarter athlete, a stronger athlete. And that was the birth of my second half of my career.
Yes, because you ended up having a compelling rivalry with him. You know, in most of the big events, he's the one who sort of went and reached the finish line just ahead of you. But you also had the satisfaction of beating him in his very last race, and some memorable pictures which sort of refreshed my memory of you going up to him and sort of, you know, saluting him right at the end of that compelling rivalry. How would you sort of look back on your rivalry with Usain Bolt, purely in terms of two athletes going head to head with each other?
It's a gentleman's rivalry. I don't think that was bitter or toxic in any way. You know, when I know that I was racing against him, I had to bring my A game. Even at practice, I had to be in that mental space of, I had to prepare for a clash with another Titan, you know, and it's going to be an epic race. So I had to make sure that we, as a unit, were going to go out there and represent, you know, Team USA versus if it's Team Jamaica or whoever else. But that competition, and when he left the sport, it left a void, not only for the world, but for me, because that's who I focused on for so many years. And I didn't realize how special it was for me until after that race and across that finish line. And I said, hey, man, you know, we embraced each other, we hugged, we talked, we congratulated each other on our careers. It was a beautiful moment, not only for myself.
Yes, it's one of those timeless moments which sort of shows the genuine respect between two genuine sort of world-class superstars of this generation, especially in your sport. When I was growing up, Justin, it was all about the Americans dominating the sprints. And then we saw, as you mentioned, Usain Bolt came in. It was the Jamaican era as well. And do you think the natural order's changed a bit now, especially with the Olympics, with the Italians emerging as a strong force? Or do you think that this upcoming World Championship will see the natural cycle sort of revert back to the two genuine superpowers going head-to-head back with each other?
I'm not sure, but I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. You know, we're at a very rare moment in time where it's a change of the guards. Now you're not really focused on one or two athletes to be able to win 100 meters or 200 meters. Now you have a whole lineup. Anybody in that lineup has the opportunity of winning. They're all pretty equal when it comes to talent and determination. So I want to sit back and just watch this kind of unfold and see where it goes and watch a star being born.
Okay. A star could be born if he beats the 9.58, which is the world record that stood for a period of time. A lot of sprinters along you and others have had a crack at it. Do you think 9.58 is beatable? And if you say yes, is it because in future we're going to see advances in technology, shoes, and all of that? What do you think needs to come together, one for 10 seconds or just below that, for that record to be beaten?
Like any other record, you know, when we watched the 9.58 in 2008 happen, you know, it was the right time. It was the peak of his season, of his career, which was at the Olympic finals. The weather, the conditions, all those come into factor. Also, like you say, technology when it comes to clothes, when it comes to shoes, when it comes to the track, all those have to play a role in making sure that a record can be broken successfully.
Okay, you spoke about the rivalry that you had with Usain Bolt, but the last couple of years in at least the women's sprints, it's been a fascinating rivalry which has emerged over there as well. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce going head-to-head with Elaine Thompson-Herah as well. Has it sort of reminded you of those lovely battles you've had?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I go to competition with focus to be able to run my race, but as soon as my race is over, I'm looking at and I'm spectating the women's 100 meters as well. And they are very, very talented women out there who are doing a great job. And I think sometimes they don't get the recognition that the men get on the side as well. So watching what Shelly-Ann has done throughout the years from 2008 on, she has been consistent, and consistency is key in our sport.
And you know, one of those oldest records in athletics stands in the name of an American great, one of the greatest sprinters of all time, Flojo, Florence Griffith Joyner. Elaine Thompson-Herah has been sort of knocking on the doorsteps of breaking that record. Do you think, considering the way she's sort of peaked in the last 7-8 months leading up to the Olympics and the way she's starting her season now, do you think that it's a matter of time that leading up to the World Championship, perhaps at the World Championship, that record is now under very serious threat?
It's a possibility. This is the closest we've ever been to the record when it comes to women's track and field since it's been set. So I think it'll be exciting to see a group of women who are going to be jockeying for position for that record. Like I said, Shelly has been consistent. You have a lot of young athletes who are coming up, and Elaine has just been on her game for the last couple of years. Every Olympic championship, she has showed up and showed that why she's the champion. So it's going to be interesting in the next couple of years because we have so many championships back to back: the World Championships, the Olympics, and the World Championships again. So it gives them an opportunity to be shaped and sharp for those goals.
Justin, because you spoke about that, I want you to delve into your experience and just perhaps try to explain to me, all athletes train almost similarly. Someone is perhaps naturally a bit more gifted. But what does it come down to, especially say in 100 meters where even 9.8 seconds isn't enough to be the fastest in that race? What does it ultimately come down to? What is that winning mentality? Is it all in the mind? Is it all about how well developed your muscles are? Just from someone who's been at the highest level, I want to understand, what does it come down to, that final split second? But ultimately, it's nothing more than a photo finish.
Race strategy. I think race strategy is very overlooked when it comes down to what makes an elite athlete and how it is when it unfolds in a race compared to other athletes next to them. Usually when we're lined up, we're all at the same range when it comes to our talent. We're all pretty much neck and neck. But what separates the first, second, and third is all going to be race strategy. Whoever has the best race strategy sticks to that plan.
Okay, and this is also a very exciting time for your sport. 2017, 2018, 2019, the talk was, what next? What after Bolt? What after Gatlin? What after Farah? But an exciting sort of new talent has emerged, not just in the 100 which you mentioned, but you just look across. There's Mondo Duplantis, there's Carsten Warholm, there's Ryan Krauser, who's sort of just defying the limits of the shot put and just undefeated across so many competitions. In India, you have Neeraj Chopra, who's sort of unleashing a new sort of belief in Indian athletics. There's also, in the women, we mentioned Elaine Thompson-Herah, there's Sydney McLaughlin. Sha'Carri Jackson has a lot to prove after missing out. Chris Coleman's a lot to prove as well. These are very exciting times for your sport. You spoke about the change of generation. Do you see this generation now taking us through to the next couple of Olympics?
Absolutely. I mean, this generation is a special generation. I hope everyone's going to be watching because there's so many records that are being threatened, if not already broken. And that shows you where the mindset is for these young athletes, not just in the sprints, but across the board, period, when it comes to field and track. They are hungry to go out and set the tone for their event and in the world, period. From pole vault to long jump to triple jump, their records are just being taken down left and right. And that may contribute to some kind of technology as well, but that's progression. That's what we're looking at right now. And that's how the sport is going to progress. And it's going to be exciting for everybody. These young athletes, they're hungry, they're determined, and they have respect for the sport, but they're saying it's their time now, and they're going to take over.
Yeah, just listening to you brought back a very incredible memory from Tokyo. I was watching the women's 800, and here was this young girl from nowhere, first Olympics, comes and obliterates the field. I think Mo, if I remember correctly, yes. But since you're on, you're sort of the expert in athletics when it comes to defying age. What would your advice be to one of your fellow greats, Mo Farah, who's sort of reaching the end of his career?
Enjoy it. I think for me, I've gone throughout my career where I've been so focused and dialed in on just, I got to do well. I got to focus. I got to stay in shape. I got to train, and repeating that same process to the point where I look back and said, this has been a great career, but where was the fun? Let's have fun when we do it. So I say to people like Mo, enjoy yourself. Your last couple of years, have fun, enjoy it. When you're out there running, look at the crowd, look how happy they are, look how you're inspiring them, because that's going to be a great way to cap off a great career.
Okay, another one of your fellow American greats is also retiring this year, and she's come out and said, this is going to be my farewell season, and she's, I think, doing exactly what you said. I'm talking about Allison Felix. What an ambassador, not just for athletes and American sport, but just for the way she's sort of followed her beliefs and the way she's taken on whoever it be, but she's going to do the things her way and she's going to go out on her terms.
She's been a special athlete for our sport. We came into the sport at the same time, and for an athlete to be able to turn pro straight out of high school is so watching her do that and watching her sustain a illustrious career going forward, she's accomplished so much and she's done it with grace.
At the beginning of this interview, I'm just wrapping up, I asked you if you've had the time to sort of put your feet up and look back on what you've achieved. But perhaps 20 years from now, how would you like to be remembered?
Obviously, I'm going to be remembered for being a sprinter, being a fast person, one of the fastest people in the world. But I like to be remembered as someone who's a fighter, someone who can be able to defy the odds, not just on track, but in life too.
Okay, on that note, Justin Gatlin, you've entertained us quite a lot, I must say. And we wish you well in your third innings. Thank you for your time, and hopefully you continue fighting the odds.
Thank you very much.